This Chevy Silverado and roller. For securement on the Silverado, I used the T-hooks, which I do not personally like at all. Just into the frame slot. Problem with the T-hook, they can fall out. They are not a safe method of securement. They work, but they're not my favorite. Better would be a Mini J, but again, the problem with the Mini J, it puts all the pressure in one spot. Preferably for something like this, I would have an R hook. The R hooks are, in my opinion, the absolute best you can get and the absolute safest. Now, with using the frame slot on this, that allowed me to crank the ever-living shit out of the suspension on this pickup truck and bottom it out. By bottoming out your suspension on a vehicle like this, it cannot bounce. It literally becomes one with your trailer. And if you want to know why I did not use the tow hooks, those are just for show. I did towing recovery for 3 years. I would never hook to one of those damn things. You will rip them right out of the front of the vehicle. They are pointless. I mean, they have a use, but it ain't for this. For the back of it, I just went right up around the spring. I just came down, one chain, 2 binders. And you can see how the pickup truck is squatting. I cranked the ever-living shit out of the suspension on this thing, so it cannot bounce. With the roller, I got 1 chain, 2 binders. Pretty much just what I normally would do with these. We have the articulation. The pin is in place, so I don't have to do anything with that. And on the back, just same thing, 1 chain with 2 binders. I don't know, doing towing recovery, working with motor vehicles, you get certain habits, just certain things you get used to doing. And using the frame slots, I'm comfortable with it. Just you have to be very careful with these T-hooks. I mean, they work, but if you don't get the angle and pressure just right, they can bounce out and fall out. That's also why I bottomed the living shit out of the suspension. I don't want this thing to be able to pop out. I do not want that to fall out, and it will. If you don't get that suspension bottomed out, and you don't get your angles right, that hook will not stay. I mean, personally, I would much rather have an R hook. It would just be a lot safer, a lot more efficient. Picked up this water truck in Colorado. It is heading down to Texas. For securement, I just have 1 chain, 1 binder, and an X going to each side of the trailer. Just wrapped it off the axle. The water trucks, there's really not a lot to hook to except for the axles. Did the exact same thing in the back. Just wrapped around off the axle. 1 chain, 1 binder, and an X. These things can be a little tricky to get them absolute centered on the trailer. With the step, they come out at the exact width of your trailer, so it can be a little back and forth to get it where you want it on the trailer exactly. I got these Peterbilt chassis for securement. There's really no good securement points on these. These kind of find whatever is solid. So went up around the bracket for the spring and took that chain down to my trailer, and same thing on the other side. Got the front steer tires. I have two of these trucks, so I got a strap over the top of the chassis here. And then there's a chain with some carpeting that comes down completely over the top of the load to a binder. And for the back axle on this one, I just went to the axles around the spring hangers, since those were the best hunk of metal I could get onto without getting into brake lines and just one hell of a nightmare. And with these, I did one chain, two binders right around the axles. Got that one coming back and then down to the binder. And then you can kind of see where everything goes up under here. And the same thing on the other side. For the bucket, I just have a 1,000-pound strap coming down. Same thing on the other side of the machine, got a 1,000-pound strap. And then for this first machine, this one's actually going to go to Oxnard, California. I just have one chain with two binders and just a strap running across. Then same thing with the back of this machine. I got one chain, two binders, and just went up to the securement point, nice and easy. These tires along the pallet are going into Utah, and just have 3 straps on each one, 2 straps into an X, and then because I'm going up into the mountains, there's just for my comfort level, I put 1 strap going straight over the top. And for this little tiny machine, this one's going to Grand Junction, Colorado. Have same thing as I always do, 1 chain, 2 binders, same thing on the other side, and same thing on the front, 1 chain, 2 binders. Then on the bucket, I just have a 1,000-pound strap, nothing crazy. The 2 straps coming over the pallet. And then I have a 1,000-pound ratchet strap that comes over the top and then down, just to keep it from sliding around, since it's pretty darn light. Okay, so I got the strap over the tongue. I just got 1 chain, 2 binders. And then I did an X with 2 chains, 2 binders. Due to spiders, I just went up to the frame. A pair of V700 grain carts. Picked them up in Shell Rock, Iowa. They're going out to Colusa, California. Got the tires, keep falling in the same dang hole. Got the tires for this first machine up on the top step. Have 2 straps and an X. This thing is just under 14 tall and right at 12 foot wide for securement. Got this one with 1 chain and 2 binders. And then I just have 1 chain, 1 binder coming down to the trailer. Same thing on the other side. Second machine, I have the exact same way. I have the 1 chain, 2 binders, and then 1 chain, 1 binder. This is where things got rather interesting. The tires for this. So I have a single strap coming over the top I then have two chains going through the center of the two tires. I have a piece of lumber with some carpeting to keep the chains off the rubber, and then a pair of binders. Well, I got this John Deere front end loader, and what I did for securement on the front, I went up to the securement hooks, did an X chain. Didn't really need to do an X chain on this, but to keep the chain out of the tire, since it's not supposed to touch, that's the only way I really do that. Just came down one chain and then one binder on each side. Have a small strap going over the bucket. In the middle, I have the articulation locked out, so I don't need a chain there. And in the back, I just have one chain, two binders, and then one chain with one binder coming back down to my trailer. And that's mainly my oh shit chain in case I have to come on the brakes. This is the 444P John Deere front end loader. At a 3-stop pickup in Nebraska. All of this stuff is going to Iowa. I got a pair of tires and then a hay head at the front. On this side I just have two chains, two binders. Got all my excess chain just tied up with a bungee and then a couple of zip ties. Then at the back of the trailer, I actually have a corn head. This thing was supposed to be a legal dimension. Well, we weren't told the dimension, so I was a little surprised to find out it is 10 foot 8 inches wide. Really no good place to secure on this side of the machine. You can see my chain coming under. Same thing on this chain coming down to a binder. And what I ultimately did with that one is hooked it in under here on the back side of the machine and used my broom handle to push the chain all the way under. And same thing at this end, just use my broom handle, push my chain to the other side, and then I have one chain, one binder pulling one way, and one chain, one binder pulling back the other. A John Deere 331G skid steer and a water truck going from Texas to Colorado. The skid steer picked up in Oklahoma City. It's going to go to Grand Junction. The water truck picked up in Graham, Texas. It's going to Fort Collins, Colorado. Load is actually pretty light. Not at all heavy. Grossing total of 62,000, which is not bad. Thing's leaking a little bit of something. Just went to the axles, front and rear axles. X-chained it off the back. fairly simple. 4 binders on the back. So this is one chain, goes from the machine, comes right down to a binder. Got my slack. Then the other half of the chain comes down to a binder. Do the same thing. So have that slack. That makes one chain count as 2. The other thing is, got the blade tucked all the way under, so I'm no longer 10'7" wide. Now I just have the tires that are barely over. Still sitting, right at 14 foot 3 inches tall. Not bad. And same thing back here. I got one chain, 2 binders. Comes down to my binder here. Got my slack. And same thing over there. And on the ripper, I got one chain, 1 binder. There's that exhaust cover. Put the engine compartments secured on both sides with small 1,000-pound ratchet straps. 210 excavator thing is about 52,000 pounds. My gross weight's a little over 84,000 pounds. So definitely overweight. Got permitted for that. 10 foot 6 inch wide, so a little bit on the wide side. I got this thing secured. I got a pair of X chains here at the back. Got a pair off the tracks coming down to the trailer, down to my binders. And then up under the machine on the actual securement points, I have the X chain coming off with my shackles, so this thing can't go anywhere. On the back of the machine, I have a pair of X chains coming off the machine from my shackles, coming down to a binder on my trailer on either side. And I also have a chain coming down off of the track to the trailer. Got that on the side. And I got a chain just running straight through the boom, putting downward pressure. Got a piece of rubber up under there to protect it. And on the bucket itself, I got another strap. These are the shackles that I like to keep on the truck. I have 4 of the smaller ones and 2 of the larger ones that I keep. And then this T-hook that I absolutely do not like. I don't use the T-hooks very often. I've only ever used them once. The shackles I use quite often. They have a lot of good uses. This is a 5/8 and the larger is a 7/8. And I just have a little keeper pin to keep the nut from backing off. Great little investment to have with you. There's a lot of equipment where the securement point, the hole is too small for your hook on your chain to fit through. So it's either you take the hook off your chain and go through all that, or I found this to be a much simpler, quicker option. Snowblower, I just have 3 straps over it. It's small, it's light. 3 John Deere tractors picking up out of Savannah, Georgia. Just have the chains and binders off the back and then an X off the front axles. Just the usual 1 chain, 2 binders on the back, and then the 2 chains, 2 binders off the very front. Shackles before, and this is one of the applications where I'll use them. The chain down point, the hole is too small for the hook on my chain to go through. So run my chain through a shackle. So I got 1 chain, 2 binders that come down to my trailer. Same thing, we got our tie down point